In today's video, you are going to find out how to do every single assistance mission for the Black Rock. And before we start, very important, the Black Rock is a little bit different to the Dravage. Why? Because at the first 10 mission of each tree, you have to do twice in 2 different vehicles. So we kind of already know that from the Dravage. However, as soon as you go into mission number 11, you only have to do it once, which is a godsend when we look at Ambush 12. In any case, assistance means lights, RDs, tier 8 to tier 11. And these 4 vehicles more or less are the number 1 or number 2 vehicles you need. You can also add the Borkenkäfer, but we'll see that down the road. And with that, I would say let's just start up with assistance number 1. Assistance number 1 is already your first roadblock. And why exactly? Because you need to have a pretty darn good light tank game. You have to enable your allies to cause damage to 8 enemy vehicles by spotting, immobilizing, or stunning them. And that is, it's very annoying. You need a good map, you need a big map, and then you need to be able to spot 8 people where your teammates are shooting on it. Once again, in this mission, I do believe it is a good idea to play with a homie which is able to shoot at your spotted targets. And that homie is supposed to play something like a Leopard 1, Leopard 120, Stridswagen 103 or 107. For yourself, I personally recommend to play something like the Even 90, if you have it, or the Manticore. For me personally, I did it in the Manticore and I had a 12k spot game, which was pretty darn nifty on the old highway. And then I also had a Borkenkäfer game where I was lucky enough to do it through the tracks. But yeah, it was very, very tight. In assistance number 2, you need to be the top player in both teams by experience earned, as well as destroy an enemy light tank or an SPG. This mission is a little bit annoying. Why exactly? Because you need to be top in both teams. That means you basically need to win the game, because otherwise there is not a single chance in the world that you are going to be top in XP in both teams if you are losing. Once again, I think recommendation here definitely are the Even 90 or the Manticore. The good thing is, usually if you start doing damage with light tanks, you can rack up being top in your team by XP earned very, very quickly. Personally, I did it in the Borkenkäfer, and after that I did it in the new Projet Louis. Assistance number 3. You need to spot 6 enemy vehicles or stun enemy vehicles 12 times. Look, you can play RD here. It is totally a-okay. It is very easy to do it in the tier 9 British artillery with the stock gun, which I've discussed in the Dravage missions lengthily. You can also do it in the 261. It is a very easy mission. Personally though, I went with light tanks because spot 6 enemy vehicles is also not too bad. Why exactly? Well, just play an EBR and say, you know what? Monkey no C, monkey no here, monkey presses W and spots 6 people and dies. The proper Romasz Sternschubser, I think how it's called, or the other guy from NA, which was just doing the funny YOLO strats to get the scout medals. Yeah, it's a very simple mission. Personally, I did it in the EBR, obviously, and the Projet Louis, because I did wanted to try out the Projet Louis. Number 4 is already starting to be a little bit annoying. Why exactly? You need to destroy 2 enemy light tanks or SPGs. So first things first, good luck getting 2 enemy light tanks or SPGs in the enemy team. Because obviously, if you are doing that mission, there's only 1 light tank in the enemy team and no RD for 90% of the games. But yeah, it is a little bit annoying. Technically, you can, in quotation mark, rig it a little bit by having a platoon mate which is playing a wheeled light tank and you're playing a normal light tank. That way you are able to get at least 2 light tanks in the enemy team. Or you play an RD and a light tank, that also works. Definitely tanks which have high kill pressure are really, really good for that mission. Something like the Tessak line as well as their premium. Something like the RHM and the new Borkenkäfer, which have high agency and killing people, or the EBRs as well are really good. Personally, I've done it in the LT432 as well as the Squall. Squall has insane kill pressure, and LT432 has really good kill pressure as well, because it's basically a medium tank cosplaying as a light tank. And it allows you to ram some people, and if you're not bad at aiming, you should be able to get a pretty decent kill and death ratio against these light tanks. But yeah, it's an annoying mission, don't get mad. Number 5 is already a little bit of an annoying mission. Why exactly? Well, spot 6 enemy vehicles while remaining unspotted, or stun 3 enemy vehicles with a single shot 4 times. Yes, you can do the RD mission, but you would basically need to play T92 and Conqueror gun carrier and need to be very lucky with maps and enemies which are cuddling. So yeah, I went for the spot 6 enemy vehicles. Personally, I do recommend something like the Manticore and the Even 90, because that's also the tanks which I did it in. The main problem is just, it is so hard and luck dependent, because as soon as you get spotted once, at least from my play session, the mission is over. So you definitely need a good map, a map which allows you to be hidden, and a map which is very luck dependent. In general, that is the major problem with many of the assistance missions. Make him the second hardest missions out of the 3 mission branches on the Blackrock trail. Definitely Vanguard are the easiest, and Ambush are most likely the hardest, because they have insane requirements and having these massive roadblocks at especially 12, 14 and 15. So yeah, but the light tank missions, they are just very annoying, because you're dependent on your teammates and dependent on which maps you are getting. Many maps simply do not allow you to do these missions. In number 6, you have to enable your allies to destroy 4 enemy vehicles by spotting, immobilizing or stunning them. And this is a little bit different compared to number 1, which was annoying, because now they need to be destroyed. Yes. That is also, once again, fairly annoying. Obviously, the go-to tanks for this one are Manticore and Even 90, because you need to stay hidden, you need to be able to spot them, and you need to have a pretty decent map. And yes, my recommendation, Manti Even 90. Guess what? I did it in the Manti and Even 90. Although, funnily enough, on the reworked Fjords map, thanks to the RD, which was able to finally destroy somebody by hitting them, even though they were shooting damage HE or even AP, I wasn't entirely sure. Was a little bit annoying, but hey, we did it after all. Well, did you enjoy doing mission number 4? Well, welcome to mission number 7. But this time, you only have to destroy 2 enemy light tanks. No RD included. Or you stun enemy light tanks for 60 seconds as an RD. That can work. The main problem is, well, most of the time light tanks die very quickly, so yes, you will not have fun penning them or fending them. And if you pen them, you basically grieve yourself in the mission. Womp womp, isn't it? Yes, obviously you can do in the RD, the 261 and the FV 3085 are decent to do this mission in. It's simply just, how should we say, it's dangerous to do it, you know? Like, you get unlucky, they already are dead, or you by accident pen them and boom, mission is done. Because yes, a potential stun does count, but a single stun hit doesn't matter, you know? I guess it then can try to go for the 2 enemy light tank kills, but yeah. I got very lucky though. I did it first try in the Squall. Again, Squall is really good for these missions. Same goes for the Blesk or the Shelma or the Tessak. Also, EBR works definitely, RHM works definitely. And the second try I did it in the LT432. I was already a little bit tilted, but I got very lucky. Even though one of the 3 light tanks in the enemy team drowned themselves, I was able to snatch up the 3rd and final one. Number 8 is also very annoying, because either you spot 8 enemy vehicles and survive the battle, remember the Ravage missions, or stun 2 enemy vehicles with a single shot 8 times and survive the battle. Now, the first one is basically good luck, have a good map, and Unga Bunga YOLO. And the second one is basically good luck, have a long game, and survive in RD. With a tank class which doesn't have the highest impact in the game, at least from my personal opinion, but maybe I'm just a bad RD player. Yeah, it is annoying. Personally, I can attest that EBR and Manticore can work. However, the survival part can be a problem. And again, you have to spot them. If somebody else in your team spots them, it's over, meaning that you have to play very aggressive and not die at the same time. Even 90 can also work, but there it feels like very often you have 2 to 3 scouts which are contesting each other for these spots. So what I've done is I played the EBR 105, obviously, Unga Bunga YOLO, you know, and I played the EBR 90. The EBR 90 only has 10 meters less view range, and Tier 9 feels less dangerous sometimes, and it's actually smaller than the EBR 105, at least from the turret. So I was able to YOLO very straight in, spot the 8 people, get back, and then survive by genuinely, even though we lost, the enemy team, thank goodness, capped. So I was able to survive. But yes, very annoying mission. In number 9, you either have to do 3000 damage to enemy vehicles or destroy 2 enemy moving vehicles by shooting them. The moving thing, just so you know, it also means if somebody is turning, which is pretty decent. It means that a lot of people are being able to get killed. Personally, I can definitely recommend once again the EBR 105 or the RHM Borsig, simply because it is a tank which can do a lot of damage. The same goes for the Borkenkäfer. Borkenkäfer is very, very good for that mission. Personally, I actually did it in a Borkenkäfer and the Char MLE. Char MLE simply because it has loads of damage potential, and you can also yoink quite a lot of kills very easily. Number 10, once again, is a very annoying mission. You need to destroy either 3 enemy vehicles from a distance of 100 meters or less, or destroy 2 enemy vehicles from a distance of 565 meters or more, aka out of render distance for normal tanks. You can do it in light tanks, can work, but I did it in RD. I did it in a 261 because it has a pretty decent damaging shot, as well as in the FV with the small gun. It is an annoying mission, like, it took me quite some games to get it done, and I was very happy when I did it. The main thing is, because you don't need to go for stun, like, and you take guns which are very accurate, like 261 and the FV RD are very accurate, Batchet RD would also work. I can highly recommend to you to use only damage HE. Because the damage HE, yes, has less splash damage, meaning that if you miss, you might have gotten a kill which you didn't gotten a kill, but you are focusing so much on getting these kills that you want to go for direct hits anyway, so you much rather take the higher alpha damage and the higher pen of, and the faster shell velocity actually, of these 8 damage HE rounds. Yeah, there's not much else to say. You have to get lucky, and then fingers crossed and thumbs are pressed. Now, in number 11, we stop having to do both missions, or the mission twice. So you only have to do it once. And this one is enable your allies to cause 4,500 damage by spotting enemy vehicles. Technically a pretty decent mission to do in a Manticore. Manticore has basically these as, how should we say, expected values. EBR can work, Borkenkäfer can work, RHM can work. The thing is though, you can also do the RD part, which is stun enemy medium tanks or tank destroyers for 170 seconds in total. And yeah, I did it with the FV 3085 on mines. I'm sorry for the 268 version 4, which I constantly was clicking, but hey man, I didn't try to directly hit you, and thank you very much for helping me do this mission. It is annoying, but again, 170 seconds is like, what? 15, if my math is correct, 15 shells in this tank with a reload time of 17 seconds. It just means you need a little bit of a long-ish game, which can be hard, especially on mines, especially on the bad side, but hey, look, it worked out, thank goodness. In number 12, it changes a little bit from just spotting to also being able to do the spotting damage through Z-tracking. So 5,500 spot damage or assistance damage. Or you have to stun enemy vehicles for 220 seconds and potential stun duration is counted. And this one, you can do it in a Manticore. Like 5,500 spot damage is, again, is what you need for the third mark. So if you go for the third mark on a Manticore, it can definitely work. Same goes for the Borkenkäfer or EBR 105. It's just a pretty decent game. Personally, I've done it in the FVRD yet again, because 220 seconds, again, it just really needs a slightly longer game and you are done. Yes, number 13 is you need to receive the Ice Tanker badge. See, honestly, for a good player, Ace Tankers are not the hardest thing to do. The main problem with an Ace Tanker is you need to win. And this can be sometimes an issue, and sometimes you're just like a couple of XP off. The good thing is about light tanks, if you do a lot of damage, you already get a lot of XP. And the other thing is you can go onto tomato.gg and check out which are the tanks with the worst amount of XP. I was trying to do it in the links because it has a very, very low XP ratio to get Ace Tanker. The main problem is you will get put against the matchmaker lots of times against EBR 75 FL10. And these are going to rock your tits. Well, go figure, that's why its expected values are so insanely low. So then I've decided to do boatloads of other tanks as well, mainly the EBR 90, because I actually like it, and I was finally able to do it. It took me longer than I wanted it to take, and how should I say, it was just annoying, let's put it that way. However, I did it like with 4 XP to spare, so very lucky. You can do it in a batch at 12T as well. It's also one of the go-to tanks for these mastery batches missions because you do damage in it and you already are very, very good to go. Number 14 is once again an annoying mission. You need to enable your allies to do 5,500 damage to enemy vehicles spotted by you while remaining unspotted at the time when the damage is caused. Meaning, playing something like an EBR 105, not the brightest idea. You have to play like an even 90 or a Manticore. And I would definitely go for the Manticore simply because there are more hit points around. And you need to get lucky. You need to get lucky, you get a good map like Brocco or Mali, maybe something like the reworked Ensk maybe. But it's just so mission and luck dependent basically. So you can also stun enemy heavy tanks 16 times, which I've almost got it once, but you know, I think I made the mistake of hitting the enemy too often with the shots. That means they lost too many hit points and then they died to my teammates. Yeah, it means that we've already actually have to not go on direct hits but on splash hits. Something which is really against every fiber in my body. But yeah, Manticore is your go-to tank. And lastly, you need to either do 5,500 HP of damage to enemy vehicles stunned or immobilized by you, or do 9,000 spot damage. And that includes damage caused and damage assisted. So yeah, it's either 9,000 combined or 5,500 damage through stunning or immobilizing. What do you go for? You can go for RD mission, I know, but from the blog did it with the RD, I did it with the Manticore. I needed one decent map, which was Redshire, and bada bam, bada boom, we have been done with the assistance missions. Overall, again, the annoying part about these missions are that you are getting usually not the best teammates. And not the best teammates means, well, you're not gonna have a lot of fun. Simple as is. And it's a little bit annoying, you know. There's nothing else to say that except they are annoying when you don't get the right maps. That means you just have to hunker down, keep your head down, and then keep pushing. And with that, you should be able to do these assistance missions. My name is RagingRaptor. Don't forget to subscribe for the other upcoming mission guides, being then Vanguard, and when I've finally done 14 and 15 of Ambush, the Ambush mission guide. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.